So, hello and welcome to the Pennybron Garden. I'm Duncan Still, one of the integrative doctors here at Pennybron UK, and I'm here to invite you back to Pennybron. We've been locked down, people have not been coming to the National Centre, but now things are beginning to open up. We really want to invite you back. So I'm back for the first time in quite a while, and I'm going to try and come back perhaps 4 times a year to guide you through the seasons, to show you what's happening in the garden and how nature can help support us in our well-being. So I'll be doing things like a guided meditation perhaps, and also things like foraging, finding what there is in the hedgerow that can help support us in our nutrition and our well-being. And we're going to start in the herb garden. So, welcome to the herb garden at Pennybron. I thought we'd start here because it's a gentle entry into foraging. Foraging obviously is the art of finding food in the hedgerows, in the wild. But I thought a herb garden is a good place to start because that's us bringing plants into our gardens and using them in our cooking. And they're really wonderfully powerful plants to use. A lot of the herbs that we have in our gardens and use in our cooking actually have medicinal properties. So they tend to be high in polyphenols, in antioxidants, things that really help boost our immunity, enhance our microbiome. So I thought I'd just show you 1 or 2 that might be of interest and encourage you to start using them in our cooking. So down here we've got thyme, which has a wonderful smell, gorgeous. And even the smell of herbs can be shown to have beneficial effects in terms of calming mood, helping with sleep, helping with reducing anxiety, stress levels. So, going out into the garden and just smelling the herbs, smelling the flowers might be something to help you. But putting them in your cooking as well has its own benefits. So next up in our herbal foraging is this furry fellow. So this is a very young fennel plant, and you can buy the bulbs of fennel in the shops, or you can grow them at home, and just using the fronds as a flavouring, very lovely in teas, can be very settling for the stomach, and yeah, just a delicious flavour to experiment with fish sometimes, or roasting vegetables. This one's a bit of an unusual one. It used to be very, very common. It's lovage and it has its own medicinal qualities. I'm not going to go into detail about each and every one of them, but if you are interested, do try and find a qualified medical herbalist to help you with any of the symptoms that you're struggling with. So I'm really spoilt for choice here. In this bed there's a lot going on. There's chives, obviously, which you can use, that have their lovely pink flowers just about to burst open. There's a bit more of this fennel. There's what looks like nettles, but actually these are dead nettles. They don't sting, but they do have little flowers that you can nibble, suck the nectar out of. Probably don't take too many, leave some for the bees. And there's a beautiful herb here, which is lemon verbena, lemon balm. And as you guess from the name, a balm is something that is soothing, and lemon verbena does have a good evidence around supporting, calming the mind-body, helping with sleep. So that's another lovely infusion or tea that you can use. And then this classic, very robust herb here, rosemary, I'm sure most of you already know, but it has very powerful qualities as well. Look them up, I'm not going to go into the details, but yeah, a very useful herb. And last but not least, we've got some marjoram down here, which is a wonderful smell and a very kind of, a potent smell and taste. Wonderful for flavouring salads and soups and making me feel lovely. So last but not least in the herb garden, I'm just going to look at flowers. I mean, they're things of beauty, number one. They can smell delicious, but also many of them are edible. And here are a few classics. Pansies can put a lot of colour in a salad if you want, and they are, edible and delicious. The simple daisy is also an edible flower, and again brings a lot of colour to a cake or a sandwich or whatever you like. And the oxeye daisy, which is more a flower of high summer, so that those very large daisy flowers are really tasty. I mean, these are edible but not necessarily delicious, but the oxeye daisy actually has a really lovely flavour. We've got a dandelion, so every part of the dandelion plant can be used. The flower is great in salads, the leaf as well can go into salads. It's a little bit bitter, and the root itself is very bitter but can be a very nice alternative to coffee. You can get dandelion root coffee. And last in the list of things, there's a snapdragon here, which again, really lovely range of colours. You've got deep reds, purples, blues, pinks. So that's the snapdragon, and that's it doing its snapping. Hello. And then I thought I'd just show you one I picked earlier, which is that chive that's come into flower. So any of the kind of onion family you can eat the flowers of. There you go, all done for the veg garden. So I wanted just to welcome you back to the garden in general. For those of you who know the centre well, hopefully it'll give you a reminder of what there is here. And for those that don't know Penybron UK, you know, it's an invitation to, when we can welcome you, to come and find us, come and see what's going on in the garden. So right now, in the middle of May, we've got beautiful ginkgo tree in full leaf, looking pretty grand. We've also got a wonderful wildflower meadow with orchids and vetch and narcissi, and then the mature trees. It's just a very, very peaceful place. So maybe let's take a moment just to soak up the peace and the beauty. So I thought I'd start our foraging wander with some very simple things that you probably already know but perhaps don't know about. So we've got here goosegrass or cleavers. It's a very common weed, I suppose. I mean, it grows everywhere. Look, if you look down here, you can see it growing in amongst the nettles. And it's a very simple plant to use. People do eat it in soups and things, but I find it catches in the throat. I use it just to flavour water. It has a lovely, very fresh, almost cucumber-like scent. And to be honest, I don't like drinking water plain. I need something to flavour it, and this is one of my favourite things. So yeah, give it a go, see what you think. And one last thing before we move on from here, I just want to say hello to this tree. This is one of my favourite trees in the Penybron garden. It is, of course, a silver birch, and I suppose in the forager's year, it has a very special time in kind of March time when the sap is rising. You can actually tap the sap, and it's probably the most delicious water you will ever taste. It's not particularly sweet, it's not particularly flavoured, but it just tastes like an elixir. And it does have xylitol in. That's a kind of naturally occurring sugar. One of the sugars you can buy in the shops actually is a kind of non-sugar sugar, and it comes from the birch tree. So thank you, birch. So, welcome to a very peaceful part of the garden, and I suppose I wanted to mention the value and importance of peace and quiet in the green, in nature. It doesn't all have to be about foraging, gathering, getting. It can be about sitting still and just being. We know that there are huge benefits to sitting peacefully, finding time for peace and quiet, and we know that there are additional benefits on top if you do that in the green or by the blue, by the sea, etc. So yeah, just an invitation to try and find time to make time for time in nature. So just I suppose a word of warning when it comes to foraging. I feel very comfortable recognising, picking and eating a whole host of things from the wild. And I suppose it's up to you to decide what you know and where your limits lie. So some things are very straightforward. I think most people would recognise a nettle, and there's not very much else that looks like a nettle or behaves like a nettle, and there's nothing very much dangerous that can happen except for you getting stung. But all of that has to be, I suppose, your responsibility. And when it comes to other things, so wild garlic, for example, there are some things that look like wild garlic but aren't wild garlic and could actually be quite toxic. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's safe. And I think that's a broader message as well, even for some herbal medications, herbal supplements. They're really only safe when you do it with advice from someone who knows what they're talking about. So I suppose just a reminder to bear that in mind. But I don't want that to stop you going out and doing the foraging. There's so much out there that could really enrich your life. So I encourage you to start that journey and use the resources, use people, use websites, use books to learn. And it could be a fantastic new part of your life. Anyway, with that, I leave it with you. Happy foraging.